Dr. Howard, thank you so much for agreeing to come to this interview. Could you kindly introduce yourself and
Sure.
tell us more about you and the...
Okay. I'm director of the African Studies program, and I'm also a professor in the School of Media Arts and Studies.
This is in celebration or in attendance of the 10th year anniversary for the sports in Africa and the Global South.
Mm-hmm.
Could you reflect on the conference?
Sure, of course, I've been around during this entire 10-year period and very proud to have been a part of it, particularly in that the sports in Africa component or aspect or sort of initiative grew out of our Institute for the African Child, and which we had, obviously they're very closely linked because we founded the Institute in 1999 in order to start moving in a different direction with African studies, try to have an aspect of applied studies as well as some sort of activities that were going to have some kind of impact on the most marginalized group of African people, i.e. its children. And then also we founded the Institute very deliberately in order to project a positive image of Africa, trying to move away from what we think of as Afro-pessimism, always having negative views of Africa's floods and famines and wars and coups and nasty kinds of political activity. And so we thought having an emphasis on children would kind of lead us into the future. The future is about children, of course. And also in that all of our African participants here used to be children, we thought this would be something that would interest everyone, that would attract all of our different kinds of students across the university. And obviously the sports in Africa orientation also had this emphasis on, or had the success of distracting people from Africa's difficulties and instead provide a focus on the positive aspects of the continent, and something that was a very enjoyable part of African life, and we thought that was really critically important as well. And due to Gerardo Kindis's excellent work, this has really taken off as a field and been a very successful 10 years of programming.
This year also marks the 50th anniversary of the African Studies program here at Ohio University. Would you kindly reflect on the 50th anniversary as well as how they are interconnected with the sports in Africa and the Global South?
Well, first of all, of course, the Sports in Africa Conference programming is certainly very closely related to African studies. One grew out of the other. And I guess I would say that 10 years of the Sports in Africa programming has certainly helped to sustain 50 years of African studies, or the last 10 years of it anyway, and keep us moving in new directions, helping us to refresh the field and move away from the same old tired arguments and debates, and come up with a new lens through which we can observe Africa. And that's always important because Africa is always in danger of slipping off of the global media radar screen, and trying to find a new way to focus people's attention, I think is a very useful thing to do. About the 50th anniversary, it brings up a lot of memories. Of course, I've only been part of this for half of that time, but we're proud to be an American program that had its origins at the time when many African countries were becoming independent. So we kind of grew up and have changed alongside the tremendous changes that have gone on in Africa. And we've come up with different orientations and had emphases on different kinds of languages and had all kinds of new fields added to what we do. So African Studies has really grown in these 50 years as well.
So how do you see this conference impact both Ohio University as well as Africa and the Global South?
Well, anything we can do to get our name out there, that's certainly what I'm always thinking about. How can we get people to pay attention to what we're doing? And this is a different way to do that. I think it attracts a new audience to African Studies, which is just fantastic. We're always trying to find a way to get to in front of a new group of students or people or the media or people in the community or a particular industry. And so that the sports initiative succeeds in doing all of those things.
And you've been here since the beginning, like you said,
Yeah.
for the sports in Africa.
And
And I'm sure you've had instances where one of the conferences, is more memorable. They're all memorable, but which, would you say has been the most memorable and why?
well, I guess I can think of some particular people I've met through this that have been that I've been intrigued by and that I've been excited. I remember the WNBA player from Senegal who was here, Astu Njai, I think was her name. It was wonderful to meet her and to spend some time with her and to have some of the women who've been keynoters who've come to the conference. That's been terribly exciting to see their desire to have the women's side of African sports represented, and we've appreciated that too.
So the theme for this 10th year anniversary conference of sports in Africa and the Global South is What Next? So do you have expectations for the future, and what are those expectations?
Oh, that's a good question. I certainly will try to support whatever the sports in Africa people want to move into. I think this is a key part of marketing our African Studies program and Ohio University, and we need to keep this going one way or another. I know there's all kinds of transition issues that could come up very soon, so we have to think seriously about that. I guess I would just say I'm prepared to be of assistance, whatever. I hope we can keep the journal going. I hope we can keep this series of conferences going. And I hope we can keep teaching about sports in Africa too. Those are my concerns.
Do you have any final thoughts that you would like to add?
Well, I just extend my congratulations to Gerard de Kindes and everybody who's working closely with him to sustain this for such a long period of time. That's a remarkable thing in our business, and we're very grateful to the way he's, in his own modest way, made Ohio University a place to think about in terms of African sports.
Thank you so much, Dr. Steve Howard. We appreciate the time you've taken to talk with us.
You're welcome.